Hello, thank you for joining us. We are here, as you can see, that's my face on the screen. On the right is Joe Mackey, who I'll introduce in a moment. We're previewing the West Ham versus Newcastle game. We've got some betting tips for you today. Our aim is going to be to beat the bookies. But as I will introduce to you now, unfortunately, we've got a very biased member on the panel tonight. Hi, Gio. I see you're sporting, I believe, a West Ham shirt.
I am, yes. I've got my Pride and Joy on. It's been a while.
Okay. Well, just so you guys know at home, Gio does support West Ham. If you haven't seen our other videos, he does mention that a fair bit. But he tries to keep West Ham Gio and betting Gio separate, and he's done pretty well. You can subscribe and see how well he's done for previous videos, and more importantly for the future. If you want to beat the bookies, subscribe to our videos. We share our members' bets. Gio's one of them, but we also do our collective members' bets that come on our app that's free to download. So have a look. That's what we're here for. Gio, this game, big game for both teams, isn't it?
I think so. It's a marker for the season, if you like. Whoever wins, let's say someone wins, whoever wins can say, right, we're good enough for minimum top half. If they lose, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board a wee bit and say, right, well, this is the type of team we need to be taking points off. I think they're on the same level, these two clubs. And they're going to be round about each other come the end of the season. So these are the kind of games that make a huge difference between 8th and 14th.
It's very interesting, 8th and 14th. So that's where Gio thinks West Ham are going to end up. I wouldn't be so confident Newcastle will be there. I've seen quite a lot of Newcastle. I suppose I better do their fan view, if you like, given we've got a West Ham fan in one corner. By no means a bad team, but lack of discipline from a couple of members of players, as we've seen sendings off. The football's all right. It's effective. They went to Old Trafford and got a really good point. How good a point that is against the Man United team that doesn't score, suddenly we're not so sure. I wouldn't have Newcastle as a top half finish this season. Joe, would you?
I think they've got a chance, actually. I thought you remembered the Newcastle bit here. I really like their attacking three in behind the striker. They've got Ronaldo, they've got Sissoko, they've now got Ronaldo Aaron's back. They've got that other French boy whose name I don't know how you pronounce it, starts with T, Thuavrin or something. But he's got a lethal set piece on him. He will create goals with his crosses from set pieces, and that's something that worries me for Monday night, actually.
Well, Mitrovic is going to be missing due to suspension, so that's a blessing for West Ham, I'd say. Newcastle away from home have picked up a couple of points. You know, Southampton at home they had, and they've scored goals. I don't feel like McLaren's there yet. He's not had the chance. He needs 2 transfer windows or even another summer to put his stamp on his team in the North East. But would you say Newcastle looked more settled under him rather than the disaster that was John Carver?
Safer. They look safer. They look a lot more organised. I think you're doing Newcastle a disservice here, actually. I think they've got quite a bit of creativity in their team. But I can get where you're coming from, but I don't think they're that bad. I think they've got a chance of making the top half, actually.
Okay. I'd say Newcastle have actually looked pretty consistent. I wouldn't say they've looked amazing, but they've not looked dreadful at any point in the season to me.
No. The 2 games they lost, they were down to 10 men in both games. So you can't look at it from that point of view. And they've had tough fixtures. You know, they haven't been easy games. Arsenal, Man U, Swansea, Southampton. That's 4 good teams they've played.
Definitely.
A lot of Newcastle fans would have took 2 points out of those 4, given what happened at the end of last season. But if you said you're going to go down to 10 men in 2 games, and these are your 4 fixtures, and you're going to come out with a couple of points, and then you're going to go on this run of games against teams who you could be beating, a lot would say, well, you know, it'll do. I don't know for sure, but I don't think they would have got points off these fixtures from last season.
I actually think Newcastle will reverse their policy of the last 5 years and become a cup side. I think you only need to look at teams like Villa, teams like Swansea, that there is an ample opportunity if they get a kind draw. A team like Newcastle should be guided and looking for at least a quarter final in one of the cups, surely.
They have to be, and so my own team and your team as well, Sam. This is what we have to do. We have to go for cups, because unless you've got a huge bank, you're not getting into that top 4. And to get the players in, to get into the top 4, you need appeal, and to get appeal, you have to be on the European stage, I think, or you're going to have to throw money at it. You ain't got the money, you need the European stage. And the best way of getting that is through the cups.
Yep, very true. And at least keeps the fans happy, which I think the guys up in the northeast would tell you that they really are after a bit of glory. And who can blame them? It's what football fans want. Money-wise, I don't think they're going to get much more in January, so this is going to be their squad. Interesting to see previous meetings between the two, Gio. Not something you like to go on, but it's something that I think it's interesting, if not fully relevant. You know, West Ham's form. You've beaten teams you shouldn't have lost to, and you've lost the teams you should have beaten. Is that a fair assessment?
I think it's just Bilic learning in the Premier League, and we played very narrow against Arsenal, and that suited us because Arsenal played narrow. Then we came up against Bournemouth and Leicester, and they played wide, and we didn't know what to do. Our fullbacks are so exposed against them. You were just waiting for a change to come. You say, "Well, change the tactics then. Get support," but it never happened, and we just got took apart by them. Then at Anfield, it was, again, like in the opening day, we were just fantastic. I think we've got the right mix of grit and flair in this 11, and it's something I cannot wait to see over the next few months.
Okay. Interesting with the average of cards there, just 3 again, given both teams, especially West Ham, have had their disciplinary problems. Would you think this game isn't traditionally bad blood? Do you think cards could be interesting given the style of play of both teams, or do you think that's just a bit of a fallacy and it's early season and it's just a bit? I mean, the Newcastle lad was a bit silly the other week against Arsenal, wasn't he, to go in for the challenge?
I think they're not a true respect of how the red cards happened. West Ham have picked up a lot. Martin Robles last week has been rescinded. So it shouldn't have been a red card, but it was. It still shows up as a red card in the stats, although it's been taken away. Our red card against Leicester was because our keeper was in their box in the dying seconds of the game. Now, he became the first ever keeper in the Premier League get sent off in the opposition's half, but it's not because of a dirty challenge. It's just because of the way it happened. Same with Newcastle. It was just a moment of madness from a well-known nutter. I don't think it means we're dirty sides. It just means that we've got one or two that needs a slap, if you like. Or I don't think they're a true reflection of how dirty the sides are. I'm not expecting a dirty. I'd be very surprised if a dirty game. However, the referee is Anthony Taylor, who sent Adrian off against Leicester and refused to give us a penalty for the clothesline on Sacco. So expect the referee to be getting a lot of grief on Monday night from the word go.
There you go. So if West Ham get denied a big penalty, the atmosphere could turn rather frosty. Average goals just over your 2.5, 2.72. Gio, if you were looking at overs unders, would you feel confident either way, given Newcastle have picked up a few goals and they've also gone and kept clean sheets and not scored? So I wouldn't be too keen to go either way. I wouldn't. As a bit of a coin toss, that bet for me.
I'm going overs. I think Bilic understands the importance of entertainment up to the park. I think he's had that drilled into him, because the reason Sam Allardyce went is because the fans were bored. The fans did not want to watch that, and I think Bilic got told, you need to put on entertaining football for these fans or they'll turn on you. And he's tried that, and that's why we've conceded 6 goals at home in 2 games, because he went way too attacking. In the first game, we played within 5 minutes. Our fullbacks were actually playing as wingers. We had 2 centre-backs, and that was it, and we got took apart. But he's trying to play attacking, entertaining football, and I think Newcastle will see this as an opportunity to have a go at us, because I don't think we're quite as good as the 4 teams Newcastle played so far this season.
Well, what I would say for OLBG members or people interested, you head to olbg.com and just search under the sports blogs. One of our really popular bloggers Miko70, he's a big Newcastle fan, and he's written a really insightful piece that he'll update as we get closer to match day, team news and bits like that. But his initial prediction, Gio, is going to counteract yours completely and that of the OLBG members I've spoken to. He's going for Newcastle to win to 0 at just under 6-1, around 11-2 with Bet Victor. Can you see his angle, given West Ham are going to be attack? If they don't score, Newcastle pinch a goal and it's landed.
I've not read it, but I will read it to see where he's coming from. So this is, I've not read his views, but I struggle to see why he doesn't think we'll score, considering we've scored 3 at Liverpool, we've scored 2 at Arsenal, we've scored 4 at home in games we've got beaten. So And we've got plenty of options on Monday night going forward, which we'll come on to.
To be fair to him, he's looking at previous games between the clubs, something that you don't like, but other people do. So it's one of those tomato. Some people like stats like that. Some people can't have them. It's like two different teams, you're going to tell me, aren't you? Sam Allardyce under you is completely different to Bilic under you.
But that's what I'll just say. These two managers are different. None of these managers were here last season, so I cannot look at last season and think, well, West Ham won 1-0 at home last season, so they're maybe going to win 2-0 again, because I was under Sam Allardyce. The football was totally different. The personnel on the pitch was totally different. The mindset was different. So I know a lot of people like head-to-heads. I just cannot understand why some people look into things like that too much.
No, it's fair enough. Have you made before on other videos? And if you want to see how Gio's got on in the past, just hit subscribe and you get everything in the future. But you can also look back at all our other successful winning bets. We've had some big ones as well. We've landed 3 or 4 winning bets from one match. So it's well worth subscribing to the OLBG channel. It's all free. It's all good fun. And we want your views as well. Comment on this particular game. Who do you think will finish higher? I'm going to ask Gio later. He's going to tell me West Ham. Bit of a dead question, really. But do you think Newcastle may be arguably the bigger team? I don't think they're going to finish ahead of West Ham. Do you? Just comment. Let us know. That's the one thing we want to know the answer to. And you give us anything else. If we're rubbish, think we're talking a load of rubbish, tell us. Tell us what you want to hear. Tell us what you think is going to happen before the game started, of course. Gio, you bet.
Yep, keep it plain and simple. I've got a couple of long shots, as I've mentioned, but first and foremost, West Ham, get the 3 points in the bag and get the money in my pooch, please.
Yeah, it's 5-4 with Paddy Power at the moment, the best price at time of broadcasting. Gio, we didn't really have a decisive outcome on the app with regards to this game because we're filming probably a little bit too ahead of Monday. So I asked a couple of members, did a bit of a straw poll from who I could find via Twitter. 2-0 or 3-0 West Ham scorecasts came back. So I'll give you the odds for those. If you're looking at 2-0 West Ham, it's around the 11-1 mark, best price. That's with Bet365, Bet Victor, I can see, and with Betfred. If you really think Gio's going to have a good day as a West Ham fan, 22-1 best price for 3-0 West Ham. Gio, we're shooting for the stars a little bit there, aren't we, with those bets?
Well, do you want to know my score prediction? 3-1.
3-1. You'd be looking at only 18-1 for 3-1, Gio. So obviously the bookies think Newcastle are likely to sneak one if it's going to be a high-scoring game.
I think so. I don't think our defence is fully established yet. We've got 2 left-sided centre-backs, and they're learning how to play beside each other. Both our centre-backs are left-footed, which is very unusual, but it's causing problems sometimes. They're not comfortable. But that's one to watch, actually. If you're betting on West Ham in future, our centre-backs are both left-sided.
Okay, that's a little bit novel. See, this is why we need OG members in the know. They spend too much time looking at which way the defenders point their toe. Gio, West Ham and over 2.5 goals, 12-5 with Betway. What do we think? Fair?
Yeah, it's tempting.
That might.
There's a lot of big prices in this game as a West Ham fan that I'm really liking, actually. I'm trying to be disciplined because a Newcastle goal and I've lost all my bets. I've just spent a bit of money, but at the same time, you get it right, you're laughing. Yeah,
and listen, I think probably we're a bit unfair on Newcastle to start the show. Before we get too many of you angry Geordies coming and commenting and telling us what for. I don't think you'll have a bad season. I don't think McLaren's a bad manager. I just think your success will be targeted at cups, and it will suit a run in the FA Cup will suit this team because they need time to bed in. And by January, 3rd round, you'd expect Newcastle to be. Now this difficult run of games is over. They'd be there or thereabouts, won't they, Gio? They'd be all right.
Newcastle will be fine. I'm not considering them for relegation or anything like that. But they have to go for it in the cups.
I think they fit nicely between an Aston Villa and a Swansea, don't they, really? They don't need that look over their shoulder, but they shouldn't really be aiming for Europa League just yet.
Oh, yeah, it's a building season, isn't it? It's like a platform for Steve McLaren to push on in the next couple of years and really wake up that sleeping giant, as they call it up there.
Yeah, and I hope to see it as well. I've got a lot of friends that are based up there and they're very passionate football fans. We shall see. Gio, I want to thank you for your time. Don't forget, guys, before Monday's game, you can comment on this. Just give us your views. That's all we want to hear. Subscribe for future videos, and you can download the free OLBG app. You even get people like Gio's comments on there for free, telling you why they think a certain bet will happen. They also have his record on there, so you can see if he's any good or not. Thank you for watching, Gio. Thanks for your time.
That's okay. I've got a first for LBG House, an in-play bet.
Oh, okay.
Andy Carroll is due to be back on Monday night, off the bench. He's been training since May, actually. He's not been training just the last couple of weeks. He's been training since May. He didn't go on a summer holiday to stay and build up his fitness against his former club. As soon as he's on, my money's on him to score the next goal or the last goal in the game. But if he comes on with half an hour to go, you used to get about 9-10 to 1 on strikers to score the next goal. That's huge value for Andy Carroll to score the next goal. So I'm on it.
I wonder if bookies will offer a market for how quick he'll get injured. He might be able to beat Delph's record knowing his previous.
Maybe, but I'm actually confident he's going to be properly managed this season. We've got options at the club now with likes of Jelavic where he won't have to play the game. I think we're going to see a different Andy Carroll this year.
Funny enough, brings me on to my final Twitter question. It's almost like we planned this, Gio. International week's been and gone. Now, you're Scottish, so you're the best person to ask for this, obviously. 4 English strikers to take to the Euros. Sadly, Scotland won't probably be going now, so we'll ask you in England. This was T. Sale that tweeted this one. Just wants to know 4 English strikers that we think will go. Rooney and Kane, but the rest are injury dependent, aren't they? It's open.
Yeah, it just depends who's fit more than anything. They're cutting 2 shoe-ins. Welbeck and Sturridge are injured. Who would you take? What's your other 2?
The fully fit, I'd have Kane, Rooney, Sturridge, and if he was fully fit, he was a great plan B once off the bench against Italy, Andy Carroll.
That's my 4. That's who I would take.
I just think he's a great plan B. And he could be a big player for West Ham this season, especially away from home. So I hope for your sake he stays fully fit unless he's playing on Crystal Palace. Gio, thank you so much for your time tonight. Guys, I want to say, don't forget, give us your views. We're here to listen. Download that app and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much, Gio.
Good night.